Okay, so in this section, what we're going to do is actually start to configure our cluster. So the first thing you want to do is in the AWS console, select Services, Networking, and then click VPC. And then on the left-hand side, go ahead and click Security Groups. And then scroll until you find the one that says Launch Wizard. And it's easy to tell because it'll show today's date or the date of when you created the VPC. And one thing that's good here is you can double click it and we could say DynomiteDB VPC SG. So that way we have a name for our security group. Next up at the lower section, select Inbound Rules, click Edit, and then click Add Another Rule. And the first one we want to do here is 8101. And then we want to select our security group. So if you see here the SG83CC63E5. So select that, and you'll notice it's the same one that's up here. So click Add Another Rule. Then we want to do 8102. And then again, select our security group. And then finally, this one is just for convenience sake. Under the type, go ahead and select all ICMP. And then again, select the security group and click Save. Okay. So what this does by updating the security groups allows our various servers to communicate with each other over port 8101, 8102, as well as ICMP requests. So next up, what you want to do is go to Services and then go to Compute and EC2. And then we want to click Instances on the left side. Click the first server, and we'll notice this is going to be a private IP of 139 and the public of 40. So if we go here to our terminal, we can start here at let's see, we have 139, 38, and 37. Okay, so your IPs are obviously going to differ from what mine are here, but this is good enough. You'll understand the example. So what we want to do is type sudo vi/etc dynomitedb dynamite.yaml. Okay, and first thing we want to do here is enter the data center. So data center, and we're going to call it DC1. And then we want to name our rack. So we're going to call it, the rack is going to be rack 1. And then our dyn_listen, instead of listening to the local host, we need the public IP address of this server. So again, let's see, 139. So we've selected it here. We can see the private is 139 and the public is here at 52. So we can do copy on that. Actually, sorry, excuse me. We want to actually set that to the private IP, right? Because right now these servers are going to be accessible host to host internally. And that's what we want to do. So let's go ahead and for the dyn_listen, we want to set it up so that they listen on port 8101 on the local network. Then next up, we have the, we're going to, under dyn_listen, let's create a new element, dyn_seeds, which are going to be the seed servers. And then from there, we want to put in our other server. So we're going to do our second server is going to be 38. We'll port 8101 again. Specify that it's going to be rack 1 as of the other servers, DC1. And the token for this, the easiest way to get it is if you go to the DynomiteDB website, and if you go to Docs, click the current version of the documentation, and click Architecture. When you scroll down to the token section, as soon as we find it here, oh, sorry, not architecture, it's topology. So click the topology link here on the left, scroll down, and you will see there's an explanation of how the node tokens work. So our second server is going to have this range of node tokens. And then our next seed, which is going to be the other server, is going to be 10, 0.0.0.137. And again, this can be port 8101 for Dynamite to Dynamite communication, rack 1, DC 1, and we want to get that next node token. Okay, data store is fine. Listen, we want to set the server up to listen on the private IP. So here again, we want to get rid of the localhost loopback, and we want to set it for the same IP that it was listening up here for internal. Okay, so we're not setting this up to listen to external. Typically with Dynamite, you don't want to have it listening to an external public port. You want it to be listening to the private port. Okay, so simple provider is fine. Backend servers are the same, and we're going to keep the token the same there. Okay, and we can go ahead and save that. And then what we want to do is say, well, actually, let's come back and do that separately. So we move to our next server. We're going to say VI. I think I lost my connection. Yep, lost it on both those. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so the timeout just finished. Let me go ahead and do clear here. And we can SSH back into the second server. And let me clear and do a sudo vi/etc DynomiteDB dynamite.yaml. Okay, and as with the other one, we want to start off with data center DC1 rack of rack 1. And then we have our listen, and in this case, it's going to be 10.0.0.138. Then below the listen, we want dyn seeds. And here we're going to do 10.0.0.139, which is our first server. And then 139, again, port 8101. And we want rack 1, DC 1. And in this case, the token will be 0. And then the next server is the one we haven't configured yet, which is going to be 137. And 137, let's get that port again from the DynomiteDB documentation. And we'll paste that in. Okay, so we have data center, rack, dyn listen we set to the external IP, which is still a private IP. But it's no longer a loopback. Then we did the dyn seeds for the server to the left and to the right of it. Data store 0, and then listen is the next thing we want to update. So here we want to change this to 10.0.0.138. Okay, and our dyn seeds provider will be the same, servers will be the same, and our token PEM file should be the same as well. Correct, and that's good. And next up, we come here. Again, we're going to clear, SSH back into the server, clear the screen again, and sudo vi/etc DynomiteDB dynamite.yaml. Whoop, wrong. Data center, DC1, rack 1, dyn listen. It's going to be 10.0.0.137. Okay, and then we want dyn seeds 10.0.0.139. That's going to be port 8101. And it's going to be rack 1, DC1, port 0, and 138. And again, let's get that token ID from the website. Paste it in. So now we've done data centers DC1, rack is rack 1. The listen is to the external address, not the loopback. Again, private. Seeds are set up, data store set up. Listen is the next thing So now we want to listen again with the external private 137. Simple provider, same backend as before, and we should be good to go. Okay, so let's come back to our first host, and what we want to do is do sudo service. Well, let me clear the screen here. Sudo service DynomiteDB -redis restart and sudo service dynamite restart. Okay, and the backend started okay, Dynamite started okay, and let's go ahead and copy this, come over to our next server, paste, and make sure everything starts here as well. Okay, and finally, we're going to go ahead and do it on our third server. Okay. Okay, so finally what we're going to do is we're going to test our installation here. So we're going to do Redis CLI -p 8102-h, and let's connect to the server that we're on, 137, and let's do set, and let's do something like this. State CA is California. Okay, and that works fine. And now what we can do is we can come over to one of the other servers and we can do something like, let's do Redis CLI -p 8102-h 10.0.0.139, and let's say get state CA. See, that works fine. Okay, and we can do the same thing on this server. Let's do Redis -CLI -p 8102-h 10.0.0.138, and let's do set state CO Colorado, and everything works fine. Okay, so one of the last things we're going to do here is you can see that we're now on 137. What we want to do is let's change this to a remote server. So let's, from 137, we will do a set onto 139. And just basically, this is just confirming that we can communicate from one server to the other using the Redis CLI. So in this case, let's do state of OH, and that's going to be Ohio. And there we go. Everything's up and working fine. One point to note, if you do have connection problems, one of the most likely causes of it is going to be the security groups. And that is typically if you get just kind of complete errors with absolutely no error message, that the first place you want to look is at your security group. But anyway, that's it. Your DynomiteDB 3-node cluster is up and running. And at this point, you're ready to move on to the next steps. Thank you.